Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you some of the features in version 1.0.4.0 of Kerbal Space Program. This is the third take because, well, I fail at the new physics engine. It's much more realistic. You can't just stack a bunch of loose parts together and expect it to survive a flight, especially at 800 meters per second in very thick atmosphere. Well, hopefully the third time's a charm. So I'm going to name this Blabble Blah because I can't be bothered to think of a better name. I'm gonna go with this flag, even though I'll probably never use it. Keeping it on normal difficulty, again, like the other two takes that I failed miserably at. Yes, I got it. Let's accept this. Let's accept that. Let's build a spaceship. And by spaceship, I mean a ship that will never reach space. We can have up to 30 parts and 18 tons. So we're going to start off nice and small. We're going to have this right there. Okay. It's a useless fuel tank. Alright. Can we get some more science going here? Yes, I believe so. Yes, indeed, good champion. Now, one of my favorite movies about amateur rocketry is Rocket Boys, also known as October Sky. So I'll name this as an homage to that. You might be wondering, why is that one of my favorite amateur rocket stories? To which I will reply, man, you're a nosy bastard. Quit asking me so many personal questions about my life. Don't judge you. So this is 5 parts. The reason I have 2 of these, even though I'll probably end up using one, I'll try to use both of them during this small flight, is because if you just put one on there, it'll pull the ship to the side. And that means that poor Kerbal is going to die. Horribly. And be fricasseed. And smeared across the pavement. And nobody wants to see that to happen to poor Jebediah. So while we're on the ground, let's go ahead and observe one of these mystery goos. And get 3 sciences. Let's launch. Let's observe the other mystery goo. Let's get a crew report. Alright. Now, we'll reach a few kilometers here. Okay. It's probably risky. It's currently safe to deploy, but I don't want to deploy yet. Just due to we're going really fast. And now if I click it, it still says safe. Well, there's a pretty light craft. So I'll go ahead and deploy. If you deploy the chute when you're going too fast or your ship is too heavy, it'll just rip the parachute right off the damn ship. Which will end up with your Kerbal pilot becoming fricasseed and smeared across the landing pad. And again, nobody wants to see that. Let's speed this up here, because I don't feel like waiting 3 hours for this thing to land. That's an excellent timing on that stop. Let's recover this vessel. And we have 19 sciences. Got some good funding. He gets an experience point. Let's research this and research basic rocketry. Alrighty. Over here, let's accept a new contract. Let's clear these out. Alright. Now we want to create more sciences. We're going to get rid of that. Which put a science bay on there. What's special about the science bay? It allows us to get more science. Science is what we want, obviously. We could do a stack decoupler right there. And we're going to want a couple fuel tanks. Don't expect this to go very high. I just want to get the science so I can get the next stage of rocket research done. When we get the next stage of rocket research done, I don't have to stack these things together to get, I can get a tank that's the size of 2 of these combined. And that allows for more stability. Very, very handy. Put a Reliant engine on there. Alright, so basically this gets us to probably 3,000 meters. In that time I have to do this. Deploy the chute. Maybe get a crew report when we hit the surface again. I think these things are going to be useless on this flight. So let's go ahead and get rid of them for extra stability and lighten our weight. And this is going to be the OC-2. Alright. Let's launch this baby in the air. We don't need to increase the throttle. So let's observe the materials bay. That is a healthy chunk of science. So now I can actually just do this. Wait till we run out of steam here. Release the parachute. Parachute should release. Hopefully that won't destroy our launch pad. Probably could have landed safely with it. You can destroy your entire space complex. It's very, very awesome to watch, but very expensive to fix. That scared me for a second there. We can go down to 69 meters. So we will hit this when we hit 70 meters. So I don't know if they fixed the time compression physics rendering, where it used to be if you had time compression on, the physics were multiplied by many times. And that basically meant when you hit the ground significantly faster than you think you're hitting the ground. And that causes your Kerbal to be fricasseed and smeared across the pavement. We know how that works out. So now we have better rockets. Can I recover that? Okay. Alright. We want to upgrade this. Upgrade our launch pad by right-clicking on it. And we want to start this all over again. Gotta keep weight in mind. This here. And we want another science bay. This time we're going to put these things back on. And put that there. Now this is very similar to what we've been doing. Just put that there. Basically, the reason I did this is so I don't accidentally jettison our engine in case I need to use our engine to slow down to prevent the parachute from breaking off the ship. This is still going to be a single stage rocket, methinks. I might try to do it at 2 thrusts. This is an engine that I made in a much earlier version. It's very high thrust, low fuel usage. It's basically infinite fuel and very high thrust. It's got more thrust than the biggest stock engine in the older versions of the games. But we're going to put this swivel engine on there. We want another stack decoupler. We're going to want another one of these. Alright, and put this right here. Let's get these things on there. Hopefully this will stay stable enough to get us into high atmosphere. probably will have what I had happen to me several times on the previous takes, where it gets about 100 meters up and it starts spinning uncontrollably. And I don't mean like this, I mean it literally starts rotating and doing backflips. We're going to find out. How heavy is this? Yep, good thing we upgraded our launch pad, because we are 1.5 tons over what the other pad allowed. Our launch pad looks a lot better. We're going to put our SAS on there. Ignite this. Now we don't mind if it tilts a bit in this direction. And the reason for that is, well, if we land in the water, we will lose our science module. It'll ruin our science module, rendering anything that we collect with it useless. We won't be able to actually collect. Alright, so now we're setting some records. We'll get some cash monies for that. Okay, we get 6193 credits and some prestige. I doubt that we're going to be able to make it into space, let alone into orbit, with this particular ship, because we need to get out to at least 80,000 meters, preferably 100 to 120,000 meters, into the region we call space. The reason for that, it makes it so we don't have to move as fast to avoid crashing into the atmosphere. It takes less fuel to achieve an orbit that way. At least less fuel once we get into there. It's called the orbital injection burn. Alright. So now we just kick that back. I fucked up. I accidentally hit the spacebar twice, so our parachute is actually deployed. Can I undeploy it? Well, this could get interesting fast. Right there. Can I observe some mystery goo? Yes. Can I get the crew report? Yes. This will give us, assuming we can land it safely, a good chunk of fuel. Oh, wait a minute. That's the issue. Alright, so I forgot to set up the staging so that the parachute is not on the same stage as an engine. I wish it would automatically separate them, but it doesn't. So that's my fault for not checking that. I have a bad tendency to not check that. Right now it's risky to deploy our parachute. So let's go ahead, use some of our copious amounts of fuel that I was going to use to get a much higher altitude and hopefully get more science that way. Let's use this fuel to slow ourselves down. When we get slow enough, I should be able to jettison our fuel and engine and land safely with the parachute. I'm going to go really slow here. There we go. So we can cut the parachute if we want. I don't know why you would want to. Basically, the fastest that you can go when you hit the ground in this capsule is the max is about 9 meters per second. That is still very risky, extremely risky. The riskiest, in fact, because you generally don't want to go more than 6. Well, yeah, I have hit the ground at 8.5 and survived. Generally, the parachute will get you to about 6. I just want to keep it this under 150 meters per second, if I can. until we hit 1,000 meters. The reason for that is the parachute will deploy at 1,000 meters. And at that 1,000 meters, if we're going too fast, we will die horribly. We can go ahead and jettison that, just so if it explodes when we touch the ground, it doesn't blow up our science module that we desperately need that high amount of science from. Alright. So we're going about 6 meters per second. That's a pretty safe speed. The reason I was talking about the impact speeds, impact velocity, is that you can land safely using nothing but rockets to slow your descent. It's much if you're going to do like a lunar surface landing, that is how you have to do it, because the moon, or the mun in this game, doesn't have an atmosphere to make parachutes a viable option. I do have a tool installed that I use for that kind of thing. It makes things a lot easier. It's called MechJeb, and if you don't want to deal with thousands of attempts at landing something on the moon, use MechJeb. You can pick your spot to land on, and it just makes things so much easier. Right, we have 44 science. Need one more to get the FLT 400 and the Terrier engine. Terrier engine is a very small engine. Great for probes. Not very good for in-atmosphere burning. It's also good for landing on the lunar surfaces, or taking off of the lunar surfaces, because it's not too difficult to control. Winglet. Heat shield. Well, I definitely like radio mount parachutes. Don't really need them though. So I'm going to hold off on purchasing or researching anything. I want to get the next stage of rocketry because I want to get into orbit. This next ship will get into suborbital space. And that's going to be its primary objective. Let us discard these. Yeah, 70,000 meters. What is our reward for that? Don't save, it's just a capsule. What is our reward? We want... Skip the atmosphere. We get 8 science, 49,000 credits, 12 science, 89,000 credits. All of these other ones don't give science. So if I get into orbit, I get 20 science just for doing that on the same run. Probably won't actually make it into orbit. We'll definitely try to make it to suborbital. Suborbital is a fancy way of saying you're in space, but you're falling back to Earth in a short amount of time. I'm going to go ahead and put a science thing on this. We'll go ahead and do this too. Now, this is where things get tricksy. We'll put that there. Try to make this as nice, as even as possible, because I wish this game had like a wind tunnel simulator on it, so you knew how the physics were going to affect it. Okay. I need a stacked decoupler. Yes. we need a parachute. Not a pair of shoes, a parachute. It's very important that I check my staging this time. I only really want one of those. Okie dokie. So the parachute is definitely not on the same stage as the engine. We will add a stack decoupler. And then we will add several fuel tanks. I'm going to be using booster rockets as our initial blast off. Namely, I'll be using these fuckers. I don't know how well this is going to work for me. Hopefully it works, well enough. A lot of times I put these on here and they just start rocking all over the place because I don't have a way of securing them to the ship. So this might fail. We'll call this the AUK-4. Yeah, generally these things have so much thrust that if you don't bolt them to the ship using duct tape, what is essentially duct tape, they'll start just bouncing all over the place, particularly in the thick atmosphere. And it's not a pretty sight, and it will make it so you cannot complete the flight safely. So hope that doesn't happen. This is a very basic rocket. Not much different than what NASA used in the 60s, known as the Atlas rocket, which is a missile, ICBM, that was designed to carry nuclear warheads. We're using it to launch a Kerbal into space, or blow them up a few meters off the ground. Very, very possible. So far, so good. Sometimes I put 4 of these on it, and it just puts way too much thrust, and I think that's what really sets it off to twist and turn on the spaceship all the time, and just they'll blast off like the solid field boosters from the Challenger. Looks just like it too. It's actually very impressive. Squad, the developers of this game, I think they did a really good job at modeling physics and the graphical representation of stuff. Okay, so now we want to boost that. Let's begin our gravity turn, sorry. And what this does is it makes it so that when we get into space, should we be in a situation where we can get into an orbit, which we might do. Probably not. Definitely not. But the gravity turn basically lines you up to do a circular burn. So in this case we're already moving in this direction. So when we hit the apoapsis at say 100,000 meters, we have less energy to burn perpendicular or parallel with the thrust of the planet to get a circular orbit. We don't have enough fuel to do that, unfortunately. So I'm going to kill the engine. Right. I'm going to go ahead and jettison that section. Do that. I'm going to line us up to do a retrograde burn. Why am I lining up to do a retrograde burn? Well, I want to make sure that this thing lands on dirt. There's our contract. That way, I don't lose the science module. Get rid of those. Observe material bay while in low Kerbal orbit. Get a crew report. Get a mystery goo report. Come on. There we go. Okay, keep the data. Right. So now I'm just going to do this. As you can see, that is lowering our orbital trajectory. And that should be plenty good. I want to point this thing straight up. We are still climbing. Alright, now, this is where it gets tricky. Because I really have to watch my fuel consumption. I have to deploy the chute at about 15,000 meters so that it has time to fully expand, as we will be punching through the atmosphere at a very high velocity. I need to start my decelerating burn. I'm assuming that's debris. No, that can't be debris. I don't know what that is. If that's if that's the rockets, then holy crap. Setting all kinds of records here. Of course, Kerbal Space Command is over there somewhere, I believe. We are going really fucking fast right now. We need to start our deceleration burn. Otherwise we will burn up horribly. Do I have enough fuel for this? I don't have enough fuel for this. I'm out of fuel. Well, Jebediah, you're about to die. Because if I deploy that now, it is just going to rip off. It's not going to have enough time to deploy. Should have started my deceleration burn a lot sooner. Still unsafe. Still unsafe. Yep, he's dead. I'm sorry, Jebediah. I tried. Well, fuck. Okay, so let's revert this flight to the launch and give this one more try. I'm not going to attempt a orbital burn or gravity turn this time. So I just don't have the fuel for it. I know I don't have the fuel for it. Holy crap, I didn't have the SAS on. That thing is amazingly stable. Normally these things are really unstable without the SAS. I'll do a small turn just to ensure. We're losing it. We are losing it. Let's revert the flight to the vehicle assembly because I just want to put an extra fuel tank on the upper stage. That way I have more fuel to slow down with. That would give me 50% more fuel, which I think would be enough based on our last almost successful run of this. So let's give this a shot, shall we? What happened there is I turned a little too early. So I just broadsided this into heavy, at high velocity, into thick atmosphere. It's a big no-no, because it pushes down on this, and causes it to spin like this. And with no counteracting thrusters or wings, that's very, very bad. So I'm going to use basically a straight up trajectory, as straight as I can get it. Doing better this time. Now, for maximal fuel efficiency, okay, we can now begin our little gravity turn there. For maximum fuel efficiency, you want to keep this generally with just enough acceleration to stay around 200 meters per second until you reach about 40,000 meters into the atmosphere. So I'm just coasting this. I warmed up the engine a little bit there. Not that I think it really makes a difference. So when we get to about 225 meters per second, I will re-engage the engine. Alright, here we go. Engaging slow burn now. We're just going to adjust that till we start climbing. Okay. Now, since we are in the thinner atmosphere, you could be a little above 200 meters per second. And this is, like I said, to maximize fuel efficiency with the aerodynamics, and also protect your ship. Because if you go 500 meters per second at this rate, it'll still be really, really shaky because the atmosphere still has some thickness. That's what she said. Now I'm losing velocity, so I'm going to boost it up a little bit. So you don't want to be losing your velocity. Doing that is another way of wasting fuel. That means you're burning fuel but not exerting enough force on your base ship to do much good. We're above 40,000 meters. When it gets to this line here, we're going to kick the engine into full power for the rest of our fuel in the tanks, and that'll accelerate us enough to coast up a little higher. Alright, let's go. So that's the 50,000 meter mark. Our apoapsis is got to break 70,000. I think I did better on the last one. Then again, I did use this a little bit. So that should, yeah, that should get us there. Hopefully I don't fuck this up again. I probably will, but that's okay. I am still learning this new physics model. It's not going to be an overnight thing. And the fact that I'm able to get any of this done amazes me. Alright, so we'll keep that. Now if we can actually land it this time, I think I want to start my initial deceleration burn at about 36,000 meters this time. Starting to sniffle like Kakaskia. Alright, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Kerbal Space Command's over there. Again, we're landing on the mountain, so we don't have a lot. So I might begin decelerating at 40,000. Yeah, that sounds about good for me. Okay, begin a bit of a deceleration burn here. Just point that at the perfect retrograde burn there. Okay. Let's see if I can... Okay, so we are starting to accelerate again. This could be risky. Alright, so now we're out of that. Let's lighten our load. Now all we can do is cross our fingers and hope that this doesn't end in horrible failure. It's going to end in horrible failure. I already know it. Chute destroyed by aero forces and heat. Okay, so we still don't have really enough fuel to decelerate us safely. Okay. And that's because we had to burn some of it to reach our goal. Oh boy. This game never gets tired of making me look like an idiot. I'm adding a lot of weight here. I don't like adding this much weight, but I also don't like impacting the ground at a very high velocity. This is probably going to be very, very loose and shaky and not effective. Getting annoyed at this now. This thing does not look aerodynamic enough to be accelerating past terminal velocity at those altitudes. So I don't know what's up with that. Oh well. Blast off. Now this is a little more top heavy. So hopefully we can keep this going as straight up as possible. Otherwise, we'll be turning into the thick atmosphere. And nobody wants that at these velocities. I'm fighting it. It is already starting to spin. Come on. You can make it. Alright, we're out of the thickest part. Okay, so now we should be relatively safe. Oh boy. That's our apophysis. Climbing. Okay, we're beginning to accelerate. Yes, I'm past the optimal velocity. At this point, after all those failures, I don't really care. I just want to get this mission done so I can get better fuel tanks. I'll get some water there. And Jebediah there is absolutely loving this. What happens if we get a mystery goo sample? That's a little bit of science. Not as much as I would like. Okay, so now we're doing this much more efficiently this time. Not going in the angle that I'd like to go in, so let's go ahead and change our angle there. Burning more fuel that I probably can't safely spare. Alright, well, we can do some corrective burns if we need to. And now we wait. Alright, so now we are in space. Observe the material bay again. Observe the mystery goo again. Get another crew report again. Alright. Now if I wanted to, I could put this guy in orbit with the amount of fuel we have, probably. And then we'd have to send a rescue team after him. I have no interest in doing that. Let us reach the... Okay. Let's line this up here. Burn through a shit ton of our fuel. But this time, I should be able to safely do this. If this fails, I give up for the night. Oy. Okay, gonna have to slow down faster than that, buddy. Gotta slow down a lot faster than that. It's risky. Now, I know it looks like we're going really, really slow. And sorry for the silence, I am concentrating quite hard right now. Making sure that I can get this to land safely. Okay. Should be able to do it. This should work. Just make sure I jettison that fuel tank and engine before we get too low, because I don't want to be blown up by that thing hitting the ground. Oy vey. This is one tough mission. It's probably me making it more tough than it really is, so don't be daunted. I've been playing this since version 0.18, and the physics engine hasn't really changed a lot since then until now, so I am used to this behaving completely different. Okay, so now we should be able to safely jettison that. Yes. We should be good to go. Now, something that worries me is that we're going to be landing on a slope, which means we might roll. If we roll, well, let's just say it won't be all the good rock and roll times that we hear about from those college kids. It can destroy shit. Okay, here we go. I'm getting lightheaded. Getting lightheaded. All that we were able to collect our science on was the crew report and the recovery of the vessel. Our mystery goo, which the containers were obviously still intact, weren't recovered. And our science lab that contained most of our science got destroyed because it hit the ground at 6 meters per second, which is pretty much the lowest I can get it without using a thruster. If I put more parachutes on, I can get to about 5 meters per second. Oh boy. And no experience. You just went into space and you didn't gain any experience or reputation. Let's go to our tracking station. Let's go to our tracking station. We don't have any debris. No, no debris floating around. Nothing, no. Well, I hope you found that entertaining. It was certainly frustrating. Lots and lots of work wasted. So I'm going to get this. That leaves me with enough to get survivability. Gives me the radial mount parachutes, which are just as good as the Mark II that we have. There's basically the same parachute, just in a different container. So I guess I could just strap that onto everything. So much annoyance. But if you enjoyed me failing horribly, feel free to leave a like, a comment, or subscribe. If you have any comments, feel free to let me know. Suggestions, what would make this more entertaining for you. And I will try to make it happen. I still am going to honor what I said the first time I did a series on this. Any new subscribers, leave whatever name you want on any object in the game, be it a flag as a monument, a space station or satellite, a deep space probe, anything like that. I will put your name into the game on something at least semi-significant. It's free. All you gotta do is subscribe. And let me know what you want, and I will try to make it happen. I'm not the most skilled at the game, so I might not be able to do certain tasks, but I will give my best, and I will record the whole thing, and you will see my failures. You will laugh at me, and I will be hurt, and I will go home and cry. But anyway, I ramble. I will see you in the next part. Have a good one.